Hello and welcome to On the Corner, the official podcast, pitcherlist.com. I'm your host, Eric Samulski, joined, as always, by I guess it's the final week of the summer because school starts in 2 days, but it's Nick Pollack. Nick, is this the final week of summer for you?
No,
Okay.
that doesn't. I don't have kids, at least not yet, Eric, and that doesn't get defined by school and stuff. That's September 21st, buddy.
Okay.
All right. And we're excited to be here in the final month with you, as other people have moved on to another sport that I will not mention. We are still here. We'll be doing this each week, going over the schedules. It's the most effective way to do this. I know some people were upset that I didn't do the top 100 list proper last week, but let's be honest, that list is not important anymore because you're not going to be able to make the trades for the top 30, 40 guys or whatever. And when it comes to the adds and drops, it's dependent on schedule more than anything at this point. And you can read my roundup every day to let you know, hey, look, this is a guy who's underperforming too much, so you don't need to hold on to it for the next one. Or if a guy is overperforming or performing much better than expected, maybe this is actually the time to jump in. That is the way to do it, not that weekly list. That's too late in the weekly list. So the best way to get ahead of it is to view the entire schedule as best as we can. And huge props to Kyle Bland and Josh Mockinson for helping us get together this incredible thing. You guys are going to be seeing it on the list later today. If you're listening to this live on Tuesday, and yes, sorry about Labor Day. I didn't get out a day earlier, but it's all right. We have last week's list to help you, so everything should be okay.
And just a heads up, right? A lot of these things aren't going to change so much week to week. I mean, a guy who we may not have liked last week, we may like a little bit more this week because the matchup is different. There are some pitchers we'll talk about this week who we didn't actually see pitch in a major league game last week. So some of we may run really quick through some of these teams because the context of them hasn't really changed tremendously. And I kind of think that the Diamondbacks, who are our first team, are a great example of that because I don't really know if that much has changed since last week.
Yeah, no, I mean, the only thing is that Zach Gallen continues to succeed. And I upgraded him into Toby's and Bombs to say, look, Texas at San Francisco and San Francisco, that actually might continue to work for him. I can't really tell you exactly what he's doing that is so great. But yeah, you definitely want to do that. And I might be too aggressive on Ray Nelson. I might actually list him as an early streamer this week because I'm not sure I really will want to go against the Phillies and the Dodgers to end his season. So it might just be 2 more starts with the Red Sox and then hosting the Red Sox and then going into Minnesota for his next one. Even that one is a little scary.
Yeah. We should acknowledge, because we talked about this last week, I think it was in connection to Cade Povich, but I'm not sure. But Eduardo Rodriguez, Boston, it's a green matchup for you, but the Red Sox are a top 5 offense by OPS against lefties. Keep that in mind for Eduardo Rodriguez. Mike, I had a larger question about how you do the matchups with Zach Gallen, because Zach Gallen faces the Rangers. We now know that the Rangers are without Marcus Semien, without Corey Seager. Adolis Garcia just suffered a quad injury on Monday, so likely without Adolis Garcia. When we get these kind of offensive shakeups with injuries, and they will happen a lot more over the last month, because a veteran is battling a hamstring injury on a team that's not contending, they're going to shut him down. How does that impact the color coding of your matchups? How quickly does that adjust?
This is PLBot running it. I believe updated it this morning. But you'll have to talk about Kyle Bland exactly for how quick that is acting. You should definitely check out PL Pro if you're into daily updates on that. You can find our daily tomorrow and the next day hitter and pitcher projections, as well as weekly ones updated daily. So, and that's the place to get up to the minutes projection systems for these guys.
Yeah. We'll move on to the Athletics because we got to talk about Luis Morales. He just keeps performing.
Yeah, that was yesterday's SB roundup. The difficult choice Moralesis. That's what I had to go with. And I'm in on this. This is at Angels and then Reds carpet and then at Pittsburgh. So the 2 starts that you wouldn't want to have him in Sacramento are not in Sacramento. And that's positive. You also have JT Ginn going against the Angels and then also Reds carpet. And Jeffrey Springs getting at St. Louis and hosting the Red Sox. It might be sunshine and rainbows for those two. So I consider all of those early streamers for the most part. Luis Morales might be able to go longer because of the 97-mile-per-hour four-seamer that doesn't quite command appropriately, but it's fine. And then he has 2 breaking balls, and one of them is this sweeper that has negative 19 horizontal break, which is just, whoo, that's kind of interesting. So hopefully that does work out for him.
Question connected to the Braves, because I think this is like, how can this chart be actionable? You and I have been really in on Joey Wentz with the changes he made since coming to the Braves. You look at his next 3 starts, it's at the Cubs, home against the Cubs, home against Houston. With a guy like Joey Wentz, his roster rate is low anyway, so this might be more of a 15-team league thing, but like, we've liked what they're doing. The next 3 starts are not really conducive to fantasy success. Is this the time of year to just say, hey, thanks, Joey, and maybe we'll talk again in the final 2 starts of the year, but like, this is it for now?
Yeah, that's exactly it. At Detroit, in Pittsburgh, we're okay with, but there's no reason to hold on to this now. And I'm going to be doing that actually, I think, with Hurston Waldrep and maybe Spencer Strider. I might change this one slightly here, where all of these are late streamers, where I don't want to touch them for the Seattle matchups and the Houston matchups and the Cubs. It just does not make sense in my book to take those risks. Mm-hmm. While Waldrep might get the Nationals and then the Nationals, I think I'll take that both times. And then Strider, at least we can consider him for the Tigers and the Nationals at the end of the year.
Yeah. And this isn't just a important, like, it's a team context, league context thing, right? If you have a guy like Hurston Waldrep and you're in a 10 or 12 team league and there are tons of starting pitcher options, it's a lot easier to release him, find somebody. If you're in a league where you look on waivers and there's nothing, and you look at your roster size and you look at your starting pitchers and you say, you know what, I can hold this guy for 2 starts on my bench, then fine, don't drop him. We're just trying to give you general advice. Only you know the context of your bench size. Only you know what's on your waiver wire. And so if we say to drop a guy, but the only guy available for you is, Chase Dollander on the waiver wire, then yeah, maybe you would hold on to Hurston Waldrep and just keep him on your bench for 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
We got Tyler Wells coming back today, Nick. I know we haven't seen him pitch when this is out there. I think that you and I, neither one of us expects him to be a real difference maker, but it's been a long time, and it's just kind of nice that he's back on the mound. He joins Kyle Bradish.
Yeah, it's a good matchup of the Pirates and then the White Sox, and then hosting the Rays are the last 3 that Tyler Wells would get. So it's a great situation where you don't want to start him for the still ill. He's against the Padres, and I have him as a late streamer. Maybe that does work for him. We have seen him overperform in the past, and then you have Cade Povich doing the same thing. So both of those guys are ones I'm circling for the next couple weeks, not right now. And then Kyle Bradish is on the other side of that, where he gets the Pirates next and then the White Sox. And dependent on that is what you do against the Yankees twice. I honestly think I'm just going to start him regardless, because I think he really is doing super well. Yes, that second start was not as good. Absolutely not. The slider and the curve were not as dominant. He went 67% fastballs, but Kyle Bradish should not be throwing that many fastballs. And also, it was at 95, and I expected to see a velocity dip in that second start, which we normally do see after the adrenaline-fueled return from Tommy John or in a debut. Didn't have that. So that's encouraging for me with Kyle Bradish. I feel like we're going to do it, and I can't believe I'm doing this, but Trevor Rogers is an auto start despite the Dodgers, the Jays, the Yankees twice. I can't. It's just, try to find a fantasy manager who is not treating it like that at this point. You won't.
Right. I'd also use this opportunity to apologize for the Baltimore Orioles for all the things I said about that trade last year and early this year. Because, I mean, if Trevor Rogers has been great this year, and had they been playing better baseball in the first half of the year, his return would have absolutely propelled them into the playoffs and made them, a legitimate contender. If he pitches anything close to this next year with a healthy Kyle Bradish and potentially a healthy Grayson Rodriguez, like that drastically reshapes what the Orioles rotation looks like. And yes, even though I think they mishandled their prospects, and I still believe that they have with some of the guys currently there, the Trevor Rogers trade now no longer looks like a massive fumble for the Orioles, despite the fact that they probably needed more last year when they were in the playoffs and contending and they didn't get it from him, but he's been great for them this year.
Yeah. It's I don't know where to rank him next year, and I'll figure that out in a month. We'll see. Looking forward to your rankings,
Yep.
by the way. And if you're considering going to First Pitch Arizona, you have to do it. You've got to do it. One of the things that Eric and I did last year that was so much fun, and we'll do it again this year, is we took the On the Corner podcast. We did it live, where we made it so that we projected our rankings on to the screen behind us and just put a mic out for anyone to yell at us and say, why on earth do you have Yusei Kikuchi so low in your rankings? And we told you why. Why do we have Garrett Crochet as number 3? Man, that was the one. That was the one last year that people were upset about. Now, of course, there were others that we weren't very good on, but you get to tell us what those are. You got to go to First Pitch Arizona. If you're debating going, if you're just going to go on your own or something, like you're scared about it, trust me, it is the most welcoming place. We'll be so excited to see you there. So go to that. It's a Baseball HQ thing. So go to baseballhq.com. Go get First Pitch Arizona. I think there's a discount now if you go in early. So you should definitely do it.
I'll tell you, top 20 starting pitcher for me, Payton Tolle. I mean, probably not that high, but I'm curious your thoughts, because before the start, you said you didn't know if the fastball was going to play. I think fastball plays.
It played. Oh man, he came in harder. It was glorious. And I mean, I want to see the secondaries better, but I want to see those get better, I should say, over time. The cutter is interesting that he threw it as much as he did. It's a new pitch this year, starting at 90, to the point that the broadcast didn't even realize that he was throwing one. So they had 90-mile-per-hour four seamers. I was catching out the corner of my eye live. I was like, no, that can't be right. Yeah. And I'm a huge fan of him. I feel like you have to go and get Payton Tolle. But I do recognize that after this Arizona start that we're going to do, and hopefully it doesn't deflate our hype here, he will get the Yankees. He will host the Athletics, who are much better these days, and then go into Toronto. So it's not as wonderful as we think for a guy like this talent showing up in September.
Yeah. A couple of things to note. Also, he was pulled from that game at 82 pitches, I believe. The Red Sox have capped him around 75 throughout the minor leagues.
Sure.
So he's going to be around 80. Like, that's just what they're doing to manage his workload in this first season. They've also talked about not having him on regular rest, which is why you're also getting Kyle Harrison coming up, allegedly, which is also interesting to note. I mean, Kyle Harrison, we were really excited when he was dealt to the Red Sox and they added a cutter and they were tweaking the pitch mix. The results have been inconsistent in the minor leagues, and so I don't know what we're going to see. But this feels like a situation where the Red Sox have some guys like Giolito and Dustin May and Tolle and Kyle Harrison where they're trying to monitor workloads. And so I think you're going to get Garrett Crochet and Brian Bayo on pretty regular schedules, and the rest of it I think is going to be changing around in a way that might frustrate you as fantasy managers. It's a team that you're just going to really have to really check every single series. Who are the starters announced on what? Because I think
it really should be no more Dustin May, and they just need to cut their losses, even though, like, oh my gosh, we paid so much for him. It doesn't matter. It's not working out. And Kyle Harrison has not impressed as much as we wanted him to in the minors. What's unfortunate here is that his best start is the next one. That is the one that he would get on Tuesday, the 3rd of September against the Guardians, because then it might be in Sacro Verde against the Athletics. And even if you were to get the next one after, it would be the Athletics again, and then it'd be the Jays. And it's just, it's not really worth jumping into at this moment for Kyle Harrison, unfortunately.
Yes. A lot of matchups worth jumping into, though, with the Cubs.
Yes.
A lot of these guys heavily rostered. Imanaga heavily rostered. Matthew Boyd heavily rostered. At this point, Cade Horton is heavily rostered. Jameson Taillon is rostered in pretty much all 15s, some 12s. I don't know if there's a lot actionable here, but there's a lot of good matchups.
Absolutely. You have Yeah, Jameson Taillon being underrated, I think, as a Toby here against many good matchups moving forward. You have Colin Ray, even though I didn't do well yesterday, it's still the Nationals and still the Rays and at Cincinnati, which still should work out. I mean, all these guys, save for maybe Javier Assad, but even that, despite how I feel about it, whatever, go and do that against the Nationals, fine. But otherwise, yeah, you can just roll through this one.
Yeah. White Sox, I know that you were into Yoendrys Gomez prior to the start against the Yankees. Obviously, it's a tough opponent. The next schedule shapes up pretty well for him. I mean, at the Twins, home against Tampa Bay, at Cleveland. There are a couple guys on the White Sox that have some intriguing schedules, and this is not a rotation that's really heavily rostered. So I'm curious which of these guys stands out to you, and if any of them stand out to you for a 12-team format.
I would say Martin Perez. He just looked really good against the Yankees, had phenomenal changeups, great locations. At Detroit, and then hosting Tampa Bay, so now having to go into Steinbrenner Field. And then you have the Orioles in town. Yes, maybe not do it again against the Yankees, but then you get the Nationals. Like, this is a surprisingly good schedule for the poster child of Southpaws getting it done where you don't think they should. He's certainly someone I would be focused on who is likely still on your wire in many places. Yoendrys Gomez has some upside here. He has a fastball that has returned great Fantastic Four numbers. I mean, 122 plus, if I remember last time that he threw, and multiple breaking balls that have whiffs. So there is some upside there if you're trying to chase something interesting. But Shane Smith might be interesting at times against the Rays and Baltimore and the Nationals. Davis Martin is one that some people like. I don't know really how you feel about it. I feel he's okay against the Tigers and at Cleveland, but not really something I feel I have to go for.
The Davis Martin thing for me is like, depending on your setup, I could see that at Cleveland start, and I'd probably avoid the rest is where I'm at with Davis Martin.
Awesome. Sounds good.
What are you doing with Nick Lodolo? Because we like Nick Lodolo. He's a little inconsistent, but we like him. But we've got home to Toronto, at San Diego, at the Athletics in Sacramento, home to the Cubs in his next four starts. Are you holding Nick Lodolo for those 4 starts?
Yeah, I don't know. He looked really good against the Dodgers. It was like, it's really tough. I put him in Cherries, Bombs, and Toby's because it's just good luck. You do what you need to do. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly can't tell you. He could still power through these. But it is risky.
If you have him, you start him against Toronto, he gets lit up. Is that a sign for you? Like, okay,
yeah, I tried
it and it's just not going to work.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do.
Okay. Hunter Green, also pretty bad schedule, but it's Hunter Green. I don't know that we're really doing anything about that. Anybody here? Are you done with, Andrew Abbott has one good matchup against the Cardinals, or are you holding him through the bad ones?
I mean, he's been that guy for the year, and I know it's been a little bit more tumultuous in the second half, but you got to still kind of go with that one. Zach Littell, you're not going to. Brady Singer is looking way better right now, but it is the Mets and Athletics, so fine. Leave him on the wire. No one's going to really pick him up. If they do, I don't think they'll like it. And then you'll be back in for the date in St. Louis and then hosting the Pirates. That's fine with me.
Yeah. I'm super curious your thoughts on this Guardians rotation, because we have a rotation full of guys who are relatively inconsistent. Your Tanner Bibees and Gavin Williams and Slade Chaconis and whatever. You have matchups that don't get great ratings when you're doing your PL bot breakdowns. But aside from this current series against Boston, none of the other offenses, to me, just from a baseball standpoint, really strike fear into my heart. You got the Rays, the Royals, the White Sox, the Tigers, the Twins, the Tigers again, and then this really banged up Rangers offense. My heart says there's not really a bad matchup in there, but I understand that the PL bot metrics are saying some of these aren't actually great starts.
Yeah, the Royals and the Twins are a little scary, especially the Royals away from Kaufman. And the Twins have a good amount of thump in their lineup as well. So the ones that I'm really paying attention to here are, of course, Parker Messick and John Means. And Gavin Williams. I think at this point, if you have Gavin, you're just kind of doing it and hoping for the best. But I'm just, he's a hipster, and we all know that. John Means will return at some point, and it could be on the 17th against the Tigers. That might be it. It might be later on. Definitely be monitoring what he's doing in AAA via Savant to just see this pitch counts. That's what matters most here, and ensure that everything is fine. And as long as that is, then great. We have another southpaw with a great changeup. Like, that's just been so good. Parker Messick didn't have as good command that he had the previous 2 starts when he went against the Red Sox on Monday. So I'm less encouraged to go after him against the Rays in George Steinbrenner Field and also hosting the Royals. That's not really something I'm circling and feel like I need to have. However, at Detroit and then facing Detroit, especially if he's looking okay in those 2, those are fine with me as well. Logan Allen, I think I would just rather not deal with. Tanner Bybee is, you can't in any way expect all of a sudden now for it to get fixed. And Slade Ciccone, I just don't have any interest in.
I'm crossing my fingers that they have the rotation set up in some way that Parker Messick can face the Twins, because the Twins are so platoon heavy. So you'll get a lot of those bats like the Matt Wallners and whatever out of the lineup against Parker Messick, who's a lefty. I think that makes it a little bit of a softer landing spot. So that is my fingers crossed situation there.
Sure.
We're going to skip the Rockies again, like we always have. And then we're going to talk about a pitcher that Nick loves to talk about, but we're going to do that after this break. So maybe it's only one start, Nick, but Sawyer Gipson-Long is starting for the Tigers today on Tuesday. Do you think there's any chance that he can hang around, or is this something we should just totally ignore? Are there any Tigers? There's some fringy guys like the Paddocks and Charlie Mortons. Is anybody jumping out to you?
This is the rare time where I'm actually upset that Sawyer Gipson-Long is starting, because it's not fantasy relevant. He's going against the Mets, and he only went 3 innings in the last game in AAA. He's not stretched out. So you don't want to go for this. And it doesn't really seem like the Tigers are committing to him entering the rotation. So that means that Charlie Morton, who had just went against the Mets, and all we were saying is like, look, you have these 2 bad starts ending with the Mets. You have a lot of strikeouts still going. If the curveball is still working, which it did, 40% CSW, then great. Now he's going to get the White Sox and the Marlins. But because of this, it pushes him away from Sunday's start. And now Charlie Morton has to get the first start next week against the Yankees.
Right.
And then it's the Marlins. So fine, now we have to wait until that Marlins start to be able to get in on Morton, which is just unfortunate. So then there's Flaherty, though. Flaherty now is very lucky because he gets the White Sox at Miami, Guardians, and then at the Guardians. And that is good. I know Flaherty has been up and down, all these things. The velocity has been generally up as of late. And the secondaries, that is the slider and the curve, I think are not that different from when he's been excellent. So I'm generally going to lean into that one. And as far as Mize and Paddock go, I'm just not really that interested, save for the later streams for Mize, Cleveland, and Atlanta. As far as Paddock goes, Paddock is just too frustrating. And I just don't really want to do it.
I would consider, in deeper leagues, I would consider him for those 2 Cleveland starts near the end of September. But for me, that's like a 15-team league play.
Right.
So I think the Tigers will be, who knows what the Guardians will be in terms of playoff contention. We know the Tigers will be there. And so I could see that happening.
Yep.
We moved to the Astros. We got Luis Garcia back after 2 years. I think it was 28 months, if I'm remembering correctly, since he was on the mound, which is wild.
Yeah, it is.
But he didn't. I mean, the velocity was down across the board and like substantially on some pitches. But quality start, 6 strikeouts, no walks. I'm curious your thoughts on that. I'm curious if you think Luis Garcia is going to be fantasy relevant. He's got a pretty decent matchup in Texas later this week. And then the schedule isn't great, but, is he somebody on your radar?
Luis Garcia was at 91 and change on his fastball, which is not really what you want to see. You want to see like 93, 94. And he didn't have a number 3 pitch. That was something of his arsenal before. Outside of the cutter is usually the slider. Didn't really have a good one. So I'm a little tepid on this for Luis Garcia with the Astros. It is at Texas next, so I feel fine. Let's give it a shot there, see how this is going, and maybe if we love it, we go at Atlanta after. But in all likelihood, we're just going to go for this one with Luis Garcia.
Yeah. Arrighetti and Javier both kind of bounced back from some earlier rough starts. The schedule for Arrighetti is slightly better because he gets Texas. Javier, not so much. I'm just curious where your thoughts are on those two guys in these final few weeks of the season.
Arrighetti became a study and forgetty, and now he gets at Texas. I'm all for this. I love the fact that he's starting to get strikes with secondaries again. And if that happens with Arrighetti, especially with the breaking stuff, we're golden. I'm excited for this start against the Rangers.
Nice. Let's see. Kansas City. My boy Ryan Berger. We're gonna do it for 2 more weeks. I've been a fan. I will be a fan. I don't know if I will be a fan for at Philadelphia and versus the Blue Jays, but Berger's been good. I like the mix changes. I like the high fastballs. I am trusting him for the next 2 weeks, and Michael Lorenzen, I just can't do it.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds exactly right for me. I mean, it's not too much more than that, save for Seth Lugo, which is, oh gosh. I still have him as a Toby and a bomb because it's like he should be better than this. But he's just been locating so many pitches over the middle of the plate. Really, when it comes to Lugo, it's a situation of, hi, my curveball is really good and I manipulate it well. And please tell me there's at least one thing of this kitchen sink of like 7 different pitches that can get me to the finish line. And there hasn't been a ton. And not only that, they've also been right in the middle of the plate. So that should change. Then he gets the Angels and at Cleveland next. And you think it should work. But I understand if everyone just says, no, I'm just going to try something else. That's likely what I would do at this point. And with Noah Cameron, it is a little worrisome that they keep protecting him so much that I might be afraid of starting him against the Twins first. But as long as that's fine, then we're all good with the Guardians after that.
Yeah. And that Twins matchup for me kind of goes back to what I said about Parker Messick. I'm a little bit more into it with Cameron being a lefty against that super platoon lineup. The Angels have nobody that really stands out. I mean, they have Jose Soriano, but again, we joke about this every week, but I can't tell you if he's going to have a good start or not. So the fact that he doesn't seem to have any good matchups the rest of the year maybe means Jose Soriano is going to have a ridiculously great run to end the season. I could not tell you.
Yeah.
And then Yusei Kikuchi is the only guy that is being regularly rostered. Home against the Athletics and away against the Mariners, like not awful starts. So I guess maybe you roll with him, and then I don't know. I don't
want to deal with anyone here. I mean, Mitch Ferris is interesting. He's coming up today from Double-A, and he just had 13 strikeouts in his last one. The report that I saw was like 88 miles per hour on the fastball, maybe 89, but it is a change of focus. So, and it looked like a good changeup in the one video I saw with it. I don't know. We're going to see what happens there. I do not recommend chasing that. And then it's the Athletics, which might be okay in Kaufman. It really depends on this one. I'm trying to prepare any sort of Mitch Ferris puns for my roundup entering tomorrow morning.
Yeah, yes. Hopefully he pitches well enough that you need those. But yeah. The Dodgers are interesting to me because I know that you get this, or you guys get this from RotoWire, and they have Emmett Sheehan currently penciled in to start on Sunday. However, what we did hear from the Dodgers is that Emmett Sheehan's next appearance will not be a start. The question, though, is like, does that mean he might pitch out of the bullpen like today or tomorrow and then start on Sunday? Does that mean that he's not going to start at all? They're so very vague on that. And so I know they skipped him his first start. And so I don't know at this point in the year, it's like, I would love to hold him for that Baltimore start. I don't know that he's making it.
Yeah, I don't think it's worthwhile. I think you're better off just chasing something that you know will help you this week. I think there are a lot of good streams out there. And if you go for that instead of chasing Emmett Sheehan, then you'll be in a better place with it. And yes, at Baltimore, at San Francisco, at Seattle, it looks really, really good on paper. It's just something that I think you can't bank on. And because of that, go get the thing that helps you now instead.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the Marlins. Nick, we can't have nice things. We can't have nice things.
Nope.
We almost made it through the year with Edward Cabrera healthy and dealing. His last couple starts were not great. His last start in particular was just a debacle, and then we find out that he has a right elbow issue. At this point in time, we still don't know the full diagnosis, timeline, anything. But it's a massive, massive bummer. We're not going to get Edward Cabrera in the rotation. So correct me if I'm wrong. The only two we really care about are Yuri Perez and Sandy Alcantara. And then whenever Ryan Weathers comes back, which might be next week, he now emerges on the radar with the caveat that he's basically been out all year, and it's going to be a roll of the dice to trust him immediately upon coming back, especially if you're like you really need those starts. And so that's going to be an interesting gamble, potentially starting next week.
Yeah, Ryan Weathers is someone I'm definitely considering a spec ad for right now, especially if I have an IL spot open. In addition, I would also heavily consider stashing Robbie Snelling where I could, because you have Adam Mazur, Jansen Junk, and Valente Biazzo at this point. And sure, only two of them would actually get those starts. Jansen Junk, I don't know if he's actually going to be able to return on the 8th, as it is projected here. And Adam Mazur, I don't know how much they really want to lean into that. So Snelling is a really good spec at the moment. He would be there on Friday, maybe replacing Beazo. He could also be there for Adam Mazur's start on the 7th, theoretically. So pay attention to that one. And when it comes to Sandy Alcantara and Yuri, I mean, Alcantara, that's 4 straight starts, and you just passed the test against the Mets. The changeup has been looking great. The 4-seamer and sinker have been commanded better. This is much more like former Alcantara at the moment. He'll get the Phillies and then the Nationals, and then at Colorado. I think you just got to roll with that one right now. And for Yuri, like, that was a stupid inning. Just forget it.
Thought it would click for Sandy in June. It turns out maybe it clicked in August.
Yep.
What are you going to do? But, be interesting to see in the offseason if that improves the trade value and what the Marlins do. The Brewers don't really have any streamers anymore because Quinn Priester is rostered pretty much everywhere. We know Mizorowski and Woodruff and Peralta are. The schedule for all of these guys is really strong. And so I guess the only guy kind of like worth hammering into here is Jose Quintana, who has a bad start tonight against the Phillies, but then a really great run to the end of the season.
Yeah, the Brewers have been winning games, and Quintana is a guy who can go 6 innings. So after this one against the Phillies, yeah, I think he's someone who generally has showcased better or above average command, more so than below average. And that's at Texas and St. Louis right after that after tonight's against the Phillies is great. Also, Jacob Mizorowski is someone I get a ton of questions on, and I'm rolling with it because I cannot deny at Pittsburgh, St. Louis, and at St. Louis. But Nick, you only go 4 innings. Not necessarily. He went 3 pitches yesterday, and also went 93 in the previous one.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely see Mizorowski going 5 innings in these and cruising through them, giving you all the things that you want. I can't turn that down.
Yeah. A lot more questions about the Twins rotation. It looked like Zebby Matthews might get sent down. Then he had a great start the last time out, so maybe he has a long leash. Taj Bradley looked a little bit like a mess. Turned out that he now discovered what scouting is and game planning is, and so he decided to do that and give that a shot, and he pitched really well, and so maybe Taj Bradley will stay up. Pablo Lopez is coming back. Simeon Wood Richardson remains in the rotation. There are, Bailey Ober has a great schedule, but has been really inconsistent. There are just so many decisions here about the Twins that could really impact the final month of your fantasy season?
Yeah. I don't feel confident trusting Zebby Matthews. Personally, I want to so badly, and it's one of those cases that I fall into sometimes of like Spencer Schmellenbach last year. I think a little bit of okay, he had a great start with all the things that he does, but then he didn't after for a moment or two, and it's just, are you going to be the command guy that's able to manipulate this amazing tool set you have or not? And Schwellenbach then showcased, yeah, I am, and that was great. And he gave us more signs of that, but Zebby Matthews hasn't quite. And I don't think he also has the same wide array that Schwellenbach had. And against the White Sox, who've already messed them up a little bit at LA, it's fine, but it is riskier than I want it to be. Mm-hmm. Taj Bradley, just this whole thing came out that he just got a scouting report. And, as mentioned, I think that he isn't really a big analytics guy. He might not be, it might be someone else. But it doesn't surprise me also, because I wonder how many of these throwers, not pitchers, don't care about the scouting report. They're just trying to hit the center of the glove. They're battling themselves more than the batter anyway. So it's not that much of a surprise to me. And I would suggest to everybody to say, look, it's not like the Rays didn't have scouting reports or things that they wanted to give to Taj Bradley or guidance. Also, the catcher makes the call. I think a lot of times Taj Bradley was thinking not about himself, just like whatever the catcher would send him, and they have the scouting reports. So it's not like he needed to know this, and this is a thing that unlocked his last good start, right? Just be able to execute what you want to execute in the first place. That is always the thing we don't know if Taj Bradley is going to be able to do. He's still that kind of guy to me.
Yeah. I think there was a note, forget which beat writer it was, but basically it was a quote from Taj Bradley, who owned that it was him. He was being hard-headed and not acknowledging the scouting reports or the need for the scouting reports. And now he has discovered that he does, and good for him. We had another heavily anticipated debut. The Mets' Jonah Tong. Yes. Curious what you thought about Jonah Tong. I know it doesn't matter if you preferred Payton Tolle or Jonah Tong, because they can both be good. But I'm just curious. It seemed like those two, there's a lot of similarities to me in terms of both their trajectory this year and how they made it through their systems from where they started and got to where they are because of teams fighting on the fringe of the playoff race. And both have fastballs that kind of lead the way and some secondaries that are relatively inconsistent. And so right now, RotoWire has Jonah Tong only in the rotation for one more start.
Jonah Tolle. Yep. That's it.
Jonah Tolle. But I'm curious where you're at with Jonah Tong. Are you trying to add him pretty much everywhere? Were you impressed enough? Do you care that we're not locked into 4 more starts?
Well, okay. So I think the Mets might have to actually start Jonah Tong.
I agree.
So I think what's going to happen here is that he's going to go against the Reds in Great American Ballpark. It's going to dominate, because I really do see that debut as like, oh yeah, Jonah Tong, especially early on, did not have things cooking as he normally does. Like he will. And yeah, then he's going to do great. And everyone's going to be like, wait, we need this. Guys, we can't just not have this right now. We got to roll with it. We can't have Tyler McGill. And the real thing that's kind of funny to me, like, let's say Tong goes away and then McGill takes over. McGill's going to have to endure the Phillies and the Padres and the Cubs. So he's not going to do well. And then it's going to be even worse on the Mets. Be like, see, you should have brought up Jonah Tong. It's going to be an interesting situation. I think that we should at least have Jonah for the short term right now. I'm all about bird in the hand versus two in the bush kind of situation right now for your team. So go and get that one, and don't big brain this. Just do that and then talk later.
Yep. What about Kodai Senga, though? Because Kodai Senga has been brutal, but also 3 of his next 4 starts are against the Red, or actually just his next 4 starts in general the Reds, that same banged up Rangers lineup we've been talking about, the Nationals and the Marlins. Like, you should be thinking, man, I'm going to ride Kodai Senga to a fantasy championship. It's so hard to put him in my lineup, but I look at his schedule and I'm like, I can't drop him.
Yeah, it is really, really hard. I don't really know what's going on. I mean, the thing is, last start though, the Ghost Fork was getting whiffs. It was doing good things. The cutter was getting hit more than it should. And that's really it. And yes, he's not the same guy he was before. The velocity's been a little bit down. Fine, but it should be better. So I think I'm going to go for it.
I think I'm with you on that as well. We're going to move over to the other team in New York, but we're going to do that after this break. What are you doing with Will Warren? Results have been a little inconsistent. We get at Houston, against Detroit, at Boston. Then the schedule gets good at Baltimore against the White Sox to end the season. But those are 3 rough matchups. Are you holding? Are you using? Are you starting? Like, where are you at with?
I think I'm going to be streaming instead. It is difficult because Will Warren has not become the 4-pitch pitcher akin to Michael King that we wanted him to be. We wanted this to be sweepers as the main driver, change-ups against lefties, boom, and then you have sinkers that are supposed to be kind of front door or jammed inside or back door to right-handers, and then 4-seamers hopefully getting away enough to right-handers. That's what we envisioned for him. And what he's turned into is Will Warren going like 70% fastballs of 4-seamer and sinkers. And then you have sweepers hopefully doing well, and then change-ups just like not getting touched. And I don't get it, Eric. He can't find this consistency. I think that he's actually getting fatigued now. Mm-hmm. And I'm scared to start Will Warren at Houston. And then Detroit maybe, and then at Boston. It's just not enough to sell me, to give me conviction that this is definitely going to be worthwhile and I need to go after it. So I'd rather go chase streams instead.
Go chase streams. Sounds like Chase Dreams. Did you ever watch that show, The Other Two, on HBO Max?
I actually did not.
It's fun. It's a good show. But it's about a 13-year-old singer named Chase Dreams who makes it big, and his 2 older siblings who are borderline deadbeats or whatever. But it's good. Yeah. It's a good show. But Chase Dreams sounds like Chase Dreams to me.
There you go.
Moving on to Philadelphia. They signed Walker Buehler. So I mean, RotoWire has him joining the rotation. I don't really know what's going to happen there. I don't know if he is. Yeah. I personally wouldn't be trusting Walker Buehler anywhere right now.
Nope.
I think I would trust Taijuan Walker for this start against the Marlins and then move on. And then all the rest of those guys are cemented, except for you see the name Aaron Nola and you think he's locked into my rotation because that's who he's been his whole career. I'm curious where you're at with Aaron Nola right now.
I think you got to do it. I think the curveball's still really good. I think in general, his command is good. Like, I'm rolling with this against the Brewers. And if you want to stop against the Mets, fine. But then after that, you're going to coast with the Royals and at Arizona and the Twins. So I think if you got to make the decision now. If you're going to do it on Wednesday against the Brewers, then you're pretty much holding the rest of the way. If not, then get out and get something before the 14th.
Yep. Love it. And you're on board. Can I get you to say you would start Taijuan Walker against the Marlins, or you're just not going to admit that?
I'm not going to do that. I'm just not. I mean, I'm just like, look, if you want to do it, fine. But it's just, I'd prefer not to have my fantasy season depend on Taijuan Walker doing well.
Okay. You heard it here. Braxton Ashcraft, still fringy for me. Like, I see some things I really like. I'm definitely not starting against the Dodgers. That's tomorrow. But Baltimore, Washington, he gets the Athletics at home. So then you start to see how the Athletics are playing by then. It could be intriguing. You know, Carmen Mlodzinski is off the table for me. So right now this is like Ashcraft and Johan Oviedo are you going to roll the dice anywhere with these two guys on the Pirates?
So Oviedo against the Orioles, I might. I think Oviedo's kind of amazing. It's just that he needs to get his four-seamer a little more upstairs, and that thing will explode. And he has a legit slider. That's always been what he does. Ashcraft is interesting because it does look like they're trying to stretch him out more, and I would very much pay attention to the Dodgers start, not for the actual success of it, but just to see how pushed he gets. You're going to see Bubba Chandler following one of these two guys. I don't think you really need to roster him at the moment because it's against the Dodgers, and I'm not going to do that. And just the unknown aspect of when we see Bubba is just too frustrating for me. So I don't think they were going to really be going after Baczynski at all. Ashcraft, we might be for the Nationals, but I don't think that Ashcraft is that good yet. He still needs more. The one good aspect is the 92-mile-per-hour slider. I think because it was Bubba Chandler's night, we gave more focus to that start against the Colorado Rockies. And it was the Rockies. And yes, they went after the slider down and away. Like, that's what they do. So I'm not too enthused about that. I actually think Oviedo has more of a path to being legitimate with more weapons at his disposal. And also, I think, 98th percentile, both height adjusted VAA and extension on his fastball, which is kind of bonkers. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, I don't like Mitch Keller. He is getting more strikeouts slightly, and maybe it's the sweeper getting a little bit better to right-handers, but definitely not against the Brewers in the short term, and do what you want against the Nationals, Cubs, and Reds after that.
Do what you want, people. I was super interested in this Nestor Cortez start against the Twins last week. And then he got the ejection and the stat line wound up being terrible. I'm like still into Nestor Cortez. And the next three starts are Baltimore, Cincinnati in San Diego, Colorado in San Diego, White Sox and Arizona. I mean, like,
yeah,
you gotta keep doing it.
I know. I know. I'm kind of with you. That's why I have him as a Toby and a bomb, because it's like, I don't like the fact that his fastball velocity has dipped a bit. It's not really at 92 anymore. It's around like 90. And that's a little concerning to me. But right, he didn't get the full start last time. I do like that he's trying to push this changeup a bit more. And he didn't really see it last time out. But yeah, I think this can work. At the very least, if you're not in for Baltimore, you should be in for the Reds carpet and Rocky Road after. I mean, that's just on a silver platter waiting for you. And same with Yu Darvish. I know that Yu Darvish has had this really tough season so far. Everyone's really not feeling great about it. But again, it's just such a good schedule. And it's Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish, I understand, has had these peaks and valleys, but the arsenal itself is not too far removed from what it's been in the past. He'll figure this one out. I feel like it's going to be worth your time. Absolutely.
Agreed on that. Moving on to Seattle. We their starting rotation is back and healthy again. Previously, it had been like, hey, fire up all of these guys. It doesn't really matter who they're starting. Are we back into, hey, fire up all these guys every time? It doesn't really matter who they're starting?
Except for Luis Castillo.
Okay.
Luis Castillo's fastballs have been attacked more, and he's essentially being exposed for what he is, of throwing four-seamers and singers up and then not having the slider and changeup to miss bats and make batters quiver in their cleats. So guys can just attack those. And the matchups are good. So fine, Rocky Road in the T. Oh my gosh. When he gets that on September 24th, absolutely. But he's going away for 2. He goes into Atlanta and he goes into Kansas City. And yeah, Kaufman, but I'm not really a fan of that one. And also his last start in Seattle wasn't very good, and it's against the Angels. And I kind of see the next 3 as like, I don't really need it. So if there are things that you need instead, or if, especially right now, as he's going to go on Sunday, I am thinking to myself, if I get 2 streams in that one roster spot, I would definitely go with that instead of holding on to Castillo.
That makes sense to me. I think we have turned a page and acknowledged that, of the 5, he may be the last.
He's
of
the weakest
5
link
in terms of just overall arm talent and upside right now. Yeah. What are you doing with Robbie Ray? I know he's been a little more inconsistent than we want. The start at Coors tomorrow is not great. Then the 2 starts against Arizona are fine, but then there's a Dodgers start. Just like, is Robbie Ray an auto start for you or no?
No, I actually had to move him down to Toby's and Bombs because last 3 starts have been very. Ugh. So 92 and then 91. I was really terrified that there's a hidden injury or something. And no, 93.7 in his most recent one. However, the secondary feel was gone. So he went full fastballs and it didn't quite work. And now it's at Coors, and that should be fine, I think. And then Arizona and at Arizona, and it's okay. I'm worried about it, and I do feel, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I do feel that if you're having tough decisions right now, you have a lot of things that you feel really good about, and Ray is the only question mark. Yeah, you can make these moves now in September. A lot of the reasons in season we don't suggest it is because you're not playing for a week or two. You're playing for 5 months or so at that point, and you're giving up way too much high potential for 4 months or so by going after this week or two. However, at this point, you might not have a season in a week or two, and you have to put yourself in the best position now. So I can't tell you that it's going to be a great start at Coors for Robbie Ray. I can't. And if you have something that looks a lot better on paper, I would suggest going for that instead.
Is Justin Verlander a hold through the Dodgers start? Because he gets St. Louis and then the Dodgers, but then Arizona, St. Louis, and then Colorado in San Francisco.
Yeah, he's not. I have him currently as solid because of that schedule. And I might actually change that back to Toby's and Bombs because I know he just had 10 strikeouts. He had 121 pitches for 5 innings. 5 innings. That's averaging 24 pitches an inning. No, that's not good, guys. So I'm very scared about him moving forward. I feel like he's the same guy he's been of, hey, are you going to have your secondaries working well enough to support your 4-seamer? And the 4-seamer isn't at 95. It's more at 93 and change these days, maybe 93, 94. So yeah, I do like the start against the Cardinals. Then again, we might see a hangover, even though he does get a day off in between with an off day with the team. You might see a hangover from 121 pitches, and then you'll get the Dodgers. And in the short term, I'm like, all right, I don't feel like I need to hold on to Justin Verlander, even though he just got 10 strikeouts in 5 innings.
Yeah. Sorry, Justin. Sorry. Is there anybody on the Cardinals you feel like holding on to at all? Because so far, Sonny Gray has been their only reliable starter. The schedule for him is not ideal, and I don't know that anybody else fills me with any kind of confidence.
Yeah, so not really. I mean, Michael McGreevy is interesting to stream. Michael McGreevy is a guy who's command-focused, can get grounders. He had that 1-7 strikeout game that you should not buy into. He could get some sneaky wins, quality starts. It's the Giants. It's at Seattle. It's the Reds carpet and at the Giants. Like that's a very sneaky one. And Sonny Gray, who was gray yesterday, does get the Giants. As long as he's fine there, then I think you're going to be fine after that.
Yeah. Michael McGreevy, I know this is just like a Michael McDonald thing, but Michael McGreevy sounds like he needs to be in like a 70s like yacht rock band. It's just where my brain
He's the new Big Mac
when I hear his name. Tampa Bay. I'm curious your thoughts on Ian Seymour, who has moved into the rotation and looked relatively good and has the next 2 matchups against Cleveland and the White Sox, which are super intriguing. Just for people who are not aware, Seymour was a starting pitching prospect. He is a starting pitcher, was moved into the bullpen to expedite his path to the big leagues and to help out the Rays. And so when Joe Boyle proved to be ineffective, they moved Seymour into the rotation. But this is not like a Drew Rasmussen situation where they're like trying to turn him into a starter. Like he has always been a starter through the minor leagues and was a prospect of some note for a while. He wasn't, a top 20 prospect, but he was on lists and he was intriguing. So his success hasn't come out of nowhere. And I've scooped him up in a few places. I don't know if I can hold him beyond the next 2 weeks, but I like it for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, Ian Seymour, definitely. I mean, I have him as an early streamer because of that, right? Cleveland should be a really good matchup, even though it's in Tampa Bay. And then at the White Sox, I absolutely love. And the Red Sox in Tampa Bay, I don't know if I necessarily love for him. But yeah, in the short term, definitely Ian Seymour. And also Shane Baz threw 98 mile per hour four seamers on Monday and had his curveball at 87. That's 2 ticks up. And then his cutter is 93, which is 3 tickets up. Something at least to note with Shane Baz, even though it is still a little annoying that he's in Tampa Bay and facing the left-handed line with the Guardians. So at least be aware of that one. With Ryan Pepio, I think I'm just generally going to keep going with it. Adrian Hauser, I would only consider here and there. Maybe hosting the Red Sox or going into Baltimore by the end of the year. And Drew Rasmussen, honestly, you can't not start him. He's going 6 innings. He went 4 straight games of 6 innings now. And I would be surprised if he did it again tonight against the Mariners.
Should people on Sunday night pick up Adrian Hauser for the start against the White Sox next week?
Well, it is a 2-step with the Cubs after. And yes, I don't love it. I don't think that Adrian Hauser is a huge needle pusher. It's more of a quality start thing if you're chasing that.
Okay. Final 3 teams to get to. The Rangers, we've talked about how banged up they are. Eovaldi is also out for the season. That has moved Jacob Latz into the rotation. Latz is somebody who has intrigued us in the past, primarily as a bulk reliever, but he's gotten some spot starts this year. What are you doing with Jacob Latz now that he is in the Rangers rotation?
You're waiting until Miami and the Guardians because he still needs to get stretched out. And I think he's very intriguing. I think he's someone to watch over the offseason too to see if there's any growth, because he does have a 94, 95 mile per hour four seam with good vert on it and a really good changeup. And that's a good recipe there, especially with a higher velocity than we normally see from these lefties. Jack Leiter has also put some things together, kind of, maybe just a string of good results, but I'm not totally sold that he has the sustainability that we want. But like Latz, Miami, and Guardians at the end. Merrill Kelly's someone that I don't care what the matchups are. Like, he's just proven himself like enough to say, like, all right, if I have him, I'm just going to start him. And Patrick Corbin's a desperate stream against the Marlins on the 19th.
Yep. This Jacob deGrom guy is good, though. So
yeah, pretty good.
You can keep throwing him out there. Yeah. Blue Jays, a bunch of names, bunch of veterans, bunch of guys who are highly rostered. There's not really anything actionable in terms of like adding. So are you dropping any of these guys? Are you playing them pretty much all the time? Scherzer also, we know, is dealing with this back injury right now, and that is always concerning because it's Max Scherzer. And so like he's scheduled to start, but is he going to? It's hard to say, especially with Toronto looking good for a playoff race. Maybe they'll let him skip a start and rest him. I don't really know.
Yeah, that's actually, I was just thinking about this right now as you were saying it. Because of the back injury, I wouldn't start him against the Yankees. And what I might see here is more of a bell curve of like, don't start at the beginning, don't start at the end, because they might want to preserve him. And then you might have some good outings against the Orioles and the Rays in between, right? Maybe the Red Sox as well on the 23rd of September. With Bassett, definitely not against the Yankees. It's Baltimore at Tampa Bay in Boston. And I have him as a late streamer if you're chasing wins. But I don't really love his consistency throughout the year. Yes, he did have his curveball working for 2 straight starts now and had more of the kitchen sink variety yesterday against on Monday, I should say. But problem, this was against the Reds in Cincinnati. There's so many bad sinkers that he got away with, and I just don't think that's going to happen again. Kevin Gausman's a hipster, and I have no idea what you're going to get, so good luck. And Shane Bieber is an auto start. I mean, this is the steal trade of the deadline. It's not even close. Like, pitching was so expensive and it wasn't here. Cal Steven is not. It's insane to me. So
and the Guardians could really use it right now because they're also kind of, I guess they've kind of fallen out, but they're still kind of in the mix for a postseason spot.
Imagine, would you have rather had the Dustin May package or the Shane Bieber package?
Yes.
I mean, I'm just thinking about that right now. Like, this is bonkers.
In on Dustin May over Shane Bieber. It's ridiculous. But yeah, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Yes.
With the Washington Nationals, Mackenzie Gore is currently on the IL. Are you the only 2 with startable schedules are Cade Cavalli and Mitchell Parker coming up? So are you picking up and recommending either of those guys? Is there anybody else who jumps out to you? Where are you at with the Nationals?
So Cade Cavalli, Miami twice, and then the Pirates. Are you kidding? And what's so nice is that as a fantasy manager, you might have other people in your league that see the Yankee outing and go, "Oh, this guy is terrible." And it's the most beautiful thing for us because it's like, oh, you have all the terrible ERAs and everything. Then you get two against the Marlins and you can just ignore those because it's silly. Watch, he has terrible starts now, but that is the kind of big brain move that you want to do. And then the other, okay, Mitchell Parker finally had a good outing in ages, but I can't buy into it. I'm sorry. He had like some blueprint with four seamers and curves, had a good slider finally. I was like, I can't do it. I just can't. But Andrew Alvarez did make his MLB debut on Monday night. He's not the most spectacular starter. However, curveballs and sliders have a ton of downward movement and more than expected than you normally see on these. And he was jamming right-handers with them, actually going right underneath the nitro zone super effectively. While the four-seamer is very hittable, so he threw 31% in the zone and 0% chase rate. So he actually had a 27% strike rate, which means that he got squeezed. And that's actually by design because he doesn't want anyone to hit this thing. He's trying to tease them with it. It could be a blow-up start against the Cubs, sure. But Andrew Alvarez could get the Pirates on the 12th. And that might be something you want to chase. Maybe. We'll see. That's the only other thing I'd consider because definitely not Jay Gervin. And even Brad Lord at Miami, I don't want to do
that. Nobody really wants to do that. Sometimes you feel like you're forced to, but nobody really wants to do that. What we do want to do, though, is keep talking baseball with you. And we will. We're going to be back to our regular schedule next week with the holidays over and everything back. We could be back on Mondays for the final 3 weeks of the season. And then Nick and I will chat about what the off-season schedule looks like, and we'll make sure to let you guys know what to expect from us. When are we going to see some rankings? When are we going to see some discussions on, hashing out how the season went? Maybe because, Nick has been diving so heavily into prospects this year. Maybe we'll get some of those, guys to look at in the offseason coming into the big leagues next year. We'll talk about some possibilities. Try to give you some really good content in these offseason months.
Absolutely. Can't wait for all of that. And I'll also be at the Astros Rangers game 2 weeks from yesterday. So the 15th. Can't wait for that one. We'll figure that one out, Eric. That might be a Tuesday OTC. But yeah, guys, hopefully this schedule helps you out a ton and helps you plan your weeks. And of course, check out my streams in the morning if you have any nuanced questions. I'm always there. Weekday mornings at playback.tv/pitcherlist to answer your fantasy questions.
That's going to do it for us. I am Eric Samulski, the Pelican.
I'm Nick Pollack, the Lion.
We'll check you on another week on the corner.